Welcome to the Infinite Ammo Syndicate and embrace the land of darkness.
Infinite ammo.
Oh, here we go. All right. Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to yet another IAS podcast interview. Today we have Sean Chiplock. Sean Chiplock, introduce yourself, good sir.
You just introduced me. What else can I say? It's Polish. The last name is Polish. It almost got changed to Smith when my ancestors came over. Thank God it didn't. I like Chiplock a lot more. I am a voice actor who exists primarily on the internet. I actually gave up my corporeal form about 5 years ago. I'm simply electrical matter that exists within your system. So whenever you power down, only the screams of electrical crackles keep me alive until the next time you boot back up.
You know what? That's a very great way to describe, booting up your hard drive. So if you have to boot up your hard drive anytime, you have Sean Chiplock to thank for that. So give a round of applause for it.
I'm still missing one of my digits. A prince in Nigeria that I responded to an email for has it. I need them. They lost power like 5 days ago. It hasn't come back.
That's pretty good. We're going to introduce the rest of the panel. So, Lady Tolkien, introduce yourself.
Hi, I just go by Lady Tolkien. I'm super excited to be here for yet another interview after having one last week. So I'm really looking forward to getting into this.
Kaneki.
This is Good War Order here, and I am happy to be here. Also, while playing Tekken.
All right, good stuff. You got to play a video game during a voice actor interview. All right.
Bro, I'm not gonna be playing during this.
I'm just messing with you. But anyway, we have Icy Bone. Introduce yourself, good sir.
Hello, everybody. I'm Icy Bone Shredder. I generally go by Icy for short. Yeah.
Next up, we have Cujo.
Hey, I'm Ben from Overlord Arcade. I refuse to change my Discord name to modernize myself, so everybody's gonna keep getting confused by that.
Hey man, it happens sometimes. Confusion will occur on name changes, but it's okay. Anyway, Mr. Inferno, introduce yourself, good sir.
As the one note of many voices around the IAS, it's always good to be in one of these interviews.
He also likes to be Arnold Schwarzenegger like a lot, so I guess that goes figure.
Loud.
And Joker.
Yeah, and Joker as well. And everyone knows me, I'm the host of IAS, Renegade Operative, the resident scrub, and we will get right into it with the questions. So, Sean Chiplock, question number 1. Could you tell us a little bit about yourself and how things started with your voice acting career?
Oh man. Well, about myself, if I have to pick the 3 adjectives to describe myself, it's definitely the video gamer, the animal enthusiast, and the curious learner. One of the best gifts I ever got in my life was literally called an encyclopedia of useless knowledge. And it was just full of facts and information that most of us, if not all of us, would probably never need in our day-to-day lives, but is pretty interesting to know anyway. So I thought that was really fun. And now I know you're probably inspired to go, oh, well, what is a random fact that you know? And there are several that I could list, but the ones that immediately come to the top of my mind, probably not fitting for a podcast like this. So I will refrain from sharing some of those, but you should look it up sometime. As for what got me into voice acting, it was early on, it was a combination of just the natural energy that I had. I was very engaged in things, often to the point of excess. I had a lot of energy to spare, just nowhere to focus it on. And voice acting appealed to me because I saw it as an opportunity to take all of the energy or silly voices, or I don't want to say craziness, but it was just this exuberance, and apply it to characters where that would work, where it would fit their personality. It was the idea that, oh, people will actually hire me for this. They'll pay me for this instead of bully me for it. So it was a sort of, not a justification, but an opportunity for it to be used for good instead of it being or get negative reciprocation. As I've come along, I found other reasons to appreciate it. It's, gives me endless chances to play pretend, be a part of worlds, or portray characters, or do things that are either simply not possible in real life, or are possible if you don't mind the massive illegality that probably comes alongside it. Swinging a flaming sword in public generally doesn't go over well outside of contractual circus appearances. So I just enjoy the fact that it lets me do all of these things that are outside of the norm and have it be completely cool and normal, and also helps pay my rent. And I've also discovered that I don't fare well when it comes to doing the same thing for 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. I've always really, really, really struggled when it came to office jobs. And voiceover is that perfect mix of, there's always going to be some familiarity so that you don't feel completely out of your element, but it's never the same exact thing twice. So it keeps me on my toes, it keeps my brain active, keeps me young as a result. And I really appreciate it for that reason. I don't think I could give it up for anything else.
All right, that was a really great answer. We're gonna move to Inferno. I want you to read question number 2, please.
Okie dokie. Do you actually play / have you thought about getting into competitive fighting games since you have voice characters in Guilty Gear Strive and Mortal Kombat 11?
Well, I have to ask a sub question to you all first. Do you consider Smash Brothers a fighting game or a party game?
I mean,
to me, fighting game, just
Yes.
because, well, that's what you do in Smash. You fight, so technically it's a fighting game.
Okay. Does everyone else agree?
I agree. I agree.
I'm kind of diverse person here. I'm gonna say that it really just depends on the family, the players getting together to play it. Because a lot of people do play competitively towards it, but otherwise, like, you have small little families that are just like, yeah, let's play this because it's a nice party game, have fun with each other.
Okay.
So I do lean more towards the fighting aspect of it, but I do consider it to be a party game at times.
Okay, well, you're
I
the only
agree with
one
that.
who's correct, because it is a party game, just like we party babies. Let's all be honest with each other. And
I'm
the
so
main
glad somebody agrees with me.
yeah, I was just gonna say that.
thing is, I panic, like when I play Mega Man, I button mash. Like, I'm using those button buffers not for combo potential, but because it's like, okay, here's what I want to do next, so I'm gonna keep pushing that input until it happens again, you know? And any time that I need to, like, I don't know whether it's because of input lag or because I distrust my own timing. Like, I cannot manage to string together combos of correct button inputs. And as soon as I get hit, you know, it's like taking a side punch by Mike Tyson. All your planning goes out the window, and you just start panicking and doing whatever you think will work. I know for a fact that that's the case because I got really, really, really frustrated trying to do basically any S rank stage in what's the newest open world Sonic that came out? Sonic Frontiers?
Frontiers,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
Right.
That is correct.
I the music's beautiful, but I would spend an hour to an hour and a half just getting frustrated with myself because I would do the wrong button input, and so Sonic would end up like slamming down to the ground instead of dashing forward, or I wouldn't time it correctly, or do it in the wrong direction, and then I have to reset for the 30th time that hour. And then I would finally accomplish it randomly and wouldn't feel any sense of satisfaction. And so it's the same thing with fighting games, where it's like, I do not have the hand-eye coordination necessary to succeed at those games. So I just appreciate the efforts of others from afar, while knowing that my strengths come in strategy and turn-by-turn party synergy, not second-by-second button inputs. So
Yeah, I can appreciate that. Fighting games are definitely, like, some people enjoy them from afar, but playing them would basically turn their brain into spaghetti. I have friends like that. Well, I enjoy playing fighting games. I know it's not for everyone, so I do appreciate that still.
I felt all of that on a spiritual level. I'm just gonna say that right now.
Yeah.
Like, I'm garbage at Smash, especially since I'm Pyra main, but that doesn't say much when I can't do much with them. I'm just like, I feel the panic when everything just keeps going foobar, and oh my god, Frontiers, especially after the last DLC, I felt all of that.
And you could not, like, you could hire me to be a human version of the training dummy. Like, you know how the dummy, you can set it to jump at regular intervals? Like, you could hire me and say, all I need you to do is jump at regular intervals so I can practice anti-air combos on you, and I'd still get fired at the end of the day for not being good enough.
God damn.
Hey man, at least
going, no, I needed a neutral jump, not a forward jump. You're like, I'm just jumping. I don't know what you want from me.
yeah, that's all I need. All I need is jump and take my legs. I'll be fine.
No, bad DI, bud. Looks like you're getting 0 to death, Jimbo.
But next we're moving to question number 3. So Tolkien, could you read that off, please?
Sure. Have you played any other video game franchises? If so, what are your favorites out there right now, and describe why?
I play all sorts of video game franchises, in part just because of my gaming background, and also in part because of the streaming that I do. I currently stream. I think the game rotation that I have is Etrian Odyssey, which is a turn-based dungeon crawler RPG. We're going through the entire Mega Man Battle Network collection. We're currently playing Lord of the Rings: The Third Age, which is a GameCube era RPG that actually aged really well. The sound design in it is really good. I've played the Trails games. I'm trying to think of, I've done the Ace Attorney games, and I'm hoping to start Apollo Justice soon. I would say the ones where I have the most fun are either RPGs that involve party synergy, especially dungeon crawlers. So Demon Gaze, Shin Megami Tensei would be a good example, even though I don't play that franchise. Etrian Odyssey, Labyrinth of Refrain, Labyrinth of Zangetsu, stuff like that. And then, of course, your Monster Collection games. So, what was it? Beastie Balls, that indie game that came out recently. I was a big fan of Pokemon until around XY is kind of when I finally started burning out. But you've got Nexomon as well. And if I had time, I might try out Pal World, but real life says I'm way too busy for that right now.
Anyone else have any sub questions about Sean's gaming interests?
I mean, I'm going to be the obvious one and say, ever actually play any Persona games?
Yes.
So this is going to be ironic, but I know I don't enjoy Persona because I thought my final connection into the franchise was going to be through Persona Q, because I was like, oh, this is perfect. It's the lore and characters of Persona, but with the gameplay mechanics of Etrian Odyssey. This is a blending of both worlds in a way that I can appreciate. And I immediately got frustrated because it turned out all the fusion mechanics of Persona Q were still based on Persona. And the example that I give to people is I never got over, being gated of like, hey, the monsters or the creatures that you currently have equipped are not strong enough for the next area, even though you're leveling them up. Their base stats are just not good enough. You need to fuse them to create new characters that have higher base stats. Okay, cool. But you don't get to keep all of the skills that you fuse over. You have to choose which ones to bring. And I'm like, okay, well, this guy is obviously the one that I've been using for, magical damage and stuff like that. So I'm going to fuse over their strongest magic attacks. And I didn't find out until after the fact that the magical demon that I had fused away had created a physical attacker that had pitifully low MP reserves. Like, it was the exact opposite of what I intended to use them for. And I've had people say, oh, well, the monsters are consistent across the game. So if you remember them or if you just use a guide, then you'll know who to fuse to get what. And my response to that is, if I have to use a guide to understand how to play the game correctly, it's not a good game. It's it's a companion, So and I just couldn't get into it because of that. Like, I don't like having to guess or find out after the fact. I think that was also what annoyed me, was that, like, it showed, hey, it's going to learn 4 or 5 more skills, but you're not going to find out what they are until you've invested another 25, 30 levels into them. And they might not even be, what you were hoping to get. So it's ironic because I don't enjoy Persona for that reason, but I'm willing to put up with it for games like Dragon Warrior Monsters. And we could have a whole debate as to why, but I guess my theory is the monsters in Dragon Warrior Monsters or Dragon Quest Monsters are cuter or cooler than the demons in Persona. So it is like a trade-off that I'm willing to deal with. So.
Anyone else have any sub-questions here?
I gotta ask, we've mentioned Mega Man a couple times, and I'm seeing the Volnut in the username. What's your thoughts on Mega Man Legends?
It was beautiful and fantastic, and a game that actually cared for its voiceover performances during an era in gaming when voiceover was often an afterthought. I think Corey Seaver, who was the voice of Mega Man back in Legends, or in Legends 1, I should say, before they aged out of it, was the most fitting voice for Mega Man I had ever heard, especially for that iteration. And I don't know if anyone will ever be able to top that. I welcome people to try. I'm just saying, like, he did a phenomenal job.
It was.
And I am.
Yep.
Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna agree. It was jarring going into Mega Man Legends 2 when the voice acting changed. It was weird.
Do you know who it is that took over?
No, I don't.
It was the same woman who voiced the mayor in the first game.
Oh,
That's an interesting piece of trivia. I never knew that.
Useless information that's still pretty cool to know.
throw that in the encyclopedia.
Right? Exactly. Yeah. So I'm heartbroken that Mega Man Legends 3 never came into existence. You know, I was a part of that community. I saw the developments. I saw colleagues of mine submit artwork and ideas and concepts to that. But I enjoyed it for what it was, and I appreciated it.
Yeah, it's one of my
Wow.
favorite sort of games on the PS1. It's literally something I always wanted from the series, and I never expected them to go like 3D. But once they did, everything just kind of clicked together. So 100%, that's just like a great game that people should try if they get the chance.
Right?
And every time I look at the moon, I wonder, when are we gonna get them off?
When are we getting Legends 3? No, man, that hurt me so much. But
Right.
we're moving on to the next question. So, Mr. Cujo, could you read off the next question, please?
Yes, I believe I can do that. Give me a second. Have you played any other video game franchises? If so, what's your favorite out there right now, and describe why?
I'm getting deja
I
vu
think I
right
did
now.
that.
I feel
Oh,
like we
that's
just-
question number 4.
Oh wait, whoops, my bad.
It's okay.
My favorite game is any game that involves time travel because it lets me go back and do these interviews for an infinite amount of time. It's kind of like one of those episodes on YouTube where it's like, it's an episode of Lazy Town, but every time they sing a song, it switches to the entire franchise of SpongeBob SquarePants. But every time someone says SpongeBob, it's an episode of Nut Shack, and the video ends up being, what is it, something like 5,218 hours long? So congratulations on having the longest video on YouTube, guys.
It's the longest day of Groundhog Day right there.
I'm surprised you know of Nut Shack. Oh my
Right.
god.
All right, I'll read the next question, which is, have I played any other video game franchises? If so, what's your favorite?
We're back again.
A novel question for sure.
Return to the past now.
Did you want me to go ahead and double up and actually read the correct
Yes,
question
go
now?
ahead.
Okay.
Yeah, number 4.
Okay. Number 4 is, how do you disconnect yourself from being a fan to being a serious actor?
I think there's actually room to be both. I mean, it's about, a lot of people say, oh, there's a time and a place, and obviously, being an exaggerated fan or being hyper focused as a fan can detract from your professionalism. But giving an example, I think that my excitement and my passion directly contributed to my being offered the role as Rivali when I was working on Breath of the Wild. Because the opportunity for Rivali came around when I was already working on the project as the Great Deku Tree. And I distinctly remember that when I was shown the sample scene that I was going to be dubbing over, that I was unable to withhold myself from making some geeky, excited noises. And I didn't know at the time that higher-ups from Nintendo were listening in via a Skype call, listening to a 20-something-year-old person making these noises in front of the microphone. But I also believe that hearing that genuine enthusiasm, that it was more than just doing a job, kind of helped sell the fact that I cared about the project, I cared about the character, I was focused on what I was working on, and gave them that sense of trust of, he's going to do the best job that he can, he's going to give his all because he is as invested in this as we are. So it's really just about understanding when it's okay to let your geek side out and when you need to focus on the job at hand. Another example was when I did work on MapleStory for Nexon. Obviously, I focused on doing the job first, and then after the job was done and we had some time to chat, that's when I let it be known, like, what an avid fan of MapleStory I was, how dedicated I was when some of the classes were released. And that really struck a chord with them because when MapleStory 2 came around and auditions for that were coming out, not only were they like super invested in making sure that I got auditions, but when I didn't submit, which struck them as odd. And we found out it was because somewhere along the way, communications fell through and I never got sent the auditions. They like made a point of reaching out and going, "We were really surprised that you didn't send in for this. We thought you'd be all up on it." And I was like, I never got them. And it worked out because they had a couple characters that Korea was still having trouble casting for. And they're like, well, we'll make sure we get you in on this next round. And I ended up booking off of one of those auditions. So it is, it's time and place, you know, it's about knowing when you need to focus on listening to what the client is requesting of you. Or Alex Lay is a perfect example because Alex Lay definitely does not take himself too seriously. He is probably a bigger shit poster than I am when it comes to appealing to his demographic on Twitter. But he's able to do it with this sense of I care about what I do, and that's why I'm able to poke fun at it because at the end of the day, you know, and I know that I'm going to take this as seriously as I need to. So
I have a sub question since you mentioned him actually. Have people ever got you to do some of the same things that he does where they might ask you to read like a really weird line and just like have a lot of fun with it?
I'm sorry, repeat that question again?
So like there's fans that will ask people to read like a lot of weird lines, memes, you know, shit posts, stuff like that. Have fans ever asked you to do things like that, and did it feel like weird, or did you just like kind of go with it and say, okay, I'm just gonna do this and kind of have fun with it as well?
It depends. Like, it depends on what they're requesting in the first place. It depends on how cool that company tends to be with that sort of request. Like, there are some companies where, as long as I'm not saying anything derogatory, racist, demeaning, you know, misogynist, stuff like that, then they're generally pretty cool with it. And then there's other companies where I genuinely have to turn those requests down, even if I think they're pretty funny, because I could get myself in serious legal trouble. So, in general, I just take it on a case by case basis. Like, if I have no problem with it, or if I actually find it pretty funny or creative, then I'm all for it. And if it's inappropriate or weird or kind of presumptuous, like they're entitled to request that of me, then I just ignore it. You know, I don't have to respond to it.
Okay, I got it. That's a pretty good one. Okay, we're gonna move on to the next one, and I want Icy to read off question number 5.
All right, so the question here is there a game series and character you wanted to do voiceover work for but never got the chance? If so, what would that dream role be if you took the mantle?
The one that I always tell people is that I would just want to be a male voice type on an Etrian Odyssey game because I'm a huge fan of that franchise. We're playing through the 3rd game right now, and I think we're on board to finish it this upcoming Tuesday. And I just like the idea that when you're creating characters, when you're creating your party and putting them together, that, you know, if you select a voice type that I provided, that I can be right there as part of your adventuring crew, helping you explore these uncharted lands. So it doesn't even have to be like a story mode character or a lead role or even someone that has a pre-assigned name in the game. Just being able to be a part of that universe and potentially a part of your adventuring party is exciting enough to me.
I have another sub question. Since you know a lot about gaming and you have your very distinctive subsect of things that you really like, do you like delve into the gaming community at all, like in terms of either live streaming or just interacting with people like that in general?
I do live stream. That was something that I picked up during COVID, during the COVID lockdowns to try and pass time, and the community developed far beyond what I was expecting. So while I'm open about saying it does feel like another source or another set of work sometimes, I do appreciate what I'm able to provide for others. But outside of that, there's not really a whole lot of active engagement I do in the gaming community outside of sharing like gaming relevant news that I come across. That's just a time factor between interviews and you know, independent visits to friends or daily activities or sessions or auditions or streaming. I just don't have a lot of free time in general. Even my own personal free time is often spent doing prep work on games that I'm going to be doing upcoming streams for, because I don't want to spend the time on stream doing repetitive grinding or stuff like that. So it's very rare that I actually have time to myself. And when I do, spending it on gaming community related activities doesn't tend to be very high on the totem pole.
Okay, I can respect that. Kaneki, I want you to read off question number 6.
And do you have any other voice actors that you appreciate in the industry? Any personal favorites to list off?
Oh, several. When I first got into the industry, it was I said that my main three were Kari Walgren, Liam O'Brien, and Steve Bloom. I said if I could have
Ooh.
the vocal range of Kari Walgren, like obviously Kari has a more feminine vocal range, but I just meant in terms of variety of doing high and low pitches. So if I had their vocal range, if I had Liam O'Brien's ability of intensity to be able to really sell the character, and if I had Steve Bloom's humility and kindness and gratitude, that there would never be a week that I'd be without work because I would just it's a 1, 2, 3 combination for success. As I've continued in the industry, there's lots of people that I respect for different reasons. Austin Lee Matthews, I think, is a person who has a great handle on playing, down to earth characters. Aiden Rudd for the same reasons. Kellen Goff has done incredible vocal manipulations with his voice to play all sorts of creature aligned roles. Lizzie Freeman is someone who has developed their career over several years to great success and expanded their skill set into, not only human roles but creature roles as well. In fact, just in general, any voice actor or actress that wants to be successful should make a habit of finding elements that they admire about colleagues and then borrowing or outright stealing from them. There's no shame in saying, "Oh, I really like what this person did. I'm going to add that to my repertoire," and finding a way to mix that in with your own skills and your own life experiences. It's because just learning off of your own stuff is kind of like training AI off of itself. Eventually, what's going to come out is going to be very weird and out there and outside the norm, and it's not going to fit in anymore with what people are expecting, and not in a good way either. So I try to have plenty of people that I appreciate, so that I'm always challenging myself and not thinking that I'm hot shit, because complacency is the death of any creative.
Is there any voice actor that you work with that you just had like a super fun time with? They're like super chill and like you just enjoyed their company overall?
We almost never work with other voice actors. The only time when that consistently happens would be on Western or prelay or animation recording, which is when you'll typically have a group in the same room all recording at the same time.
Okay.
But the mass majority of the time, whether it's anime dubs or video games or commercials or promos or whatever, it's just going to be myself, the actor, during their assigned time slot, who is in a booth with the client and whoever else is sitting in from the company, offering feedback as we do the job together. So I may see fellow voice actors in passing as we are trading places. Sorry, there's something in my keyboard. As we are trading places between sessions, but it is actually pretty damn rare that we will be in the same room at the same time.
Okay, that's awesome. That's an interesting insight as well as to how that process like really is coordinated. So I really like that answer. Thank you. Next, we're gonna move on to question number 7. So, Inferno, could you read that off, please?
Yep. How did you feel about voicing a character like Kai Kiske from Guilty Gear Strive? And how did you prepare for the role? Did you take any inspiration from the previous VA, Sam Riegel, or the Japanese VA?
So it's ironic because Kai Kiske so far holds the record for the fastest time between when I sent the audition and when I was given the role. And I didn't end up taking inspiration from either the previous VA or the Japanese VA, because I remember that the direction that they gave was, he's very similar to this other character that you've played. The difference is that he is more regal and in charge of more people, and just keep in mind this aspect of his personality. So I was able to work off of that because I was already familiar with the character reference that they were giving me. And it was like, okay, if this character that I played before is, has control over a lot of power, has an innate power that they're, I said the major difference was that this character that I was referencing was fearful of their innate power. They were like, "Oh, I'm scared of this power taking over me and overwhelming me." Whereas Kai Kiske was someone who is aware of their power and is willing to use it if absolutely necessary, but is simply worried about how other people will perceive it. But this whole time, they're not worried about succumbing to the power. It's just this awareness of how society might react to it in general. So by acknowledging that similarity and difference between the two characters, you know, making a callback to what I said before, I was able to make a quick adjustment that would be better fitting for Kai. And I think it was maybe like 12, 13 minutes after I sent the audition that the client came back and said, "Yep, that's what we needed. We're offering you the role." So it was very cool to have a director who understood me and the client well enough to just give direction that would let me home in on what tweak they needed to make this work, to be able to provide that right away and have them say, "Perfect, that's what we were looking for. We're ready to move forward."
I have a
13 minutes.
yeah, that was quick.
That's like unheard of.
I know. It's very, very rare. I would say an average turnaround time is around 2 to 3 weeks if they're really grooving along, but I've had it be as long as 8 months between when I sent the audition and when they said, "All right, we're finally ready to start working on this project. By the way, you've been cast as this person."
Oh
So
my God.
That's amazing, actually. It's like really impressive too.
Mhm.
Is there any like sort of improvising when it comes to certain lines that you've done or certain characters where they were like, it's okay if you can do a little bit more of your persona with this character, or are they like really strict and say you got to stick to the script when doing certain characters?
it varies from person to person. In most cases, you're going to want to stick to the script as written just because the client has a specific idea in mind. But sometimes there are adjustments allowed, like especially in anime dubbing. If a specific line is not quite working out with the timing, they will often be open to suggestions from the actor if it works out. And it's something that you pick up on over time. Like you kind of get a sense for, oh, this needs 1 or 2 more syllables. Can we use this wording instead? I will say that one of the cases where I was able to ad lib, and I don't actually know if it's going to get used, and now I'm worried because the longer this project goes without being released, the more worried I am that by the time it finally does, this ad lib is going to be so outdated that it's going to be cringe. But there is a project where I voiced, I would say, on the younger side of teenage, and the original line was, "If they think we're going to let them eat us, they've got another thing coming." And I asked if I could try out something, and they said, "Sure." And I said, the ad lib I did was, "If they think we're going to let them eat us, then they can eat these nuts." So the client thought it was
Got
fucking
him.
hilarious. The client thought it was fucking hilarious, even as much as when I came in for the next session for that project, they were still bringing up the fact that they thought it was hilarious that I had done that. So I don't know if they actually included it in the finished product because I don't think the finished product is out yet. But if it is, and it's there, I apologize to everyone ahead of time because at the time that I said it, it was definitely still relevant. But when game or movie or show development takes, 3, 4, 5 years, there's always the risk that it's going to end up being way outdated by the time it's done.
These nuts are never gonna get stale. Don't
I was
worry.
about to say, I feel like
Oh,
that's one of
man.
the very few internet jokes that is surviving the test of time in a very impressive manner.
Right.
Just the way that was said, though. These nuts will never get stale. Just
Gotti.
got him.
Got him.
That's the voice actor dream is to ad lib something that's relevant in the moment into a project and have it still be relevant when that project finally comes out.
But I have another question from the document. It seems like this is a JoJo question. So, JoJo, the Lost JoJo, one of our IAS members, asked you, how's it like voicing Mister from the JoJo series, and how do you feel about him as a character from Golden Wind?
It was cool playing a game, or sorry, it was cool being a character who doesn't die for once. That's also a goal of most voice actors, is to play a character that survives to the end of the show. I really enjoyed Mista because I liked that he was loyal to a fault and like really willing to fight on the side of his friends, but also was willing to go kind of gung-ho with the mafioso aspect when he felt like he had the upper hand. It's fun to play characters that are willing to go over the top like that when the situation calls for or allows for it. And I had a blast playing as him, and I'm really, really grateful that I was given the chance to be a part of that franchise.
Are you familiar with JoJo in general?
I call it ADHD the franchise. It feels like It feels like the creator just came up with powers that sounded fun first, and then was like, "I'll figure out how this all works later." You know, I'll make bullshit up as necessary until it works. So I think it's really fun, and it gets a little crazy at times, but I do want to make a point to sit down and watch the entire franchise because I think it would really scratch that itch for me.
Oh, that's cool. As for just anime in general, in terms of like doing voice work for that, how was that experience like? How did you like it so far?
How was the experience of doing voice work for that show?
Yeah,
Or-
just or any other animes in general, if you have.
Well, the one thing that I remember was notable about it was nowadays anime performances are not automatically expected to be over the top. Like you see a lot more shows and performances where it's like we want this to sound, you know, a little larger than life, but still relatively grounded. JoJo was a case where my director was like, if you think you're going too big, you're probably going just big enough. Otherwise, I'm going to ask you to go bigger. So that was really fun. The fact that we got to just go, you know, is super exaggerated with it because the show doesn't take itself seriously, or it takes itself so seriously despite the situation that it comes off as being ridiculous, but in a really fun way. So I liked getting to say yes and to that level of energy.
Yeah, the only thing I'm familiar about the anime is that someone got hit with a steamroller, and it was the funniest thing I think I ever seen in a lifetime.
Right.
It was Dio Brando hitting Jotaro, and it was the funniest thing I ever seen.
Right.
Oh, it's the best. But question number 9, I want Kaneki to read that off.
Number 9, I got you. A lot of voice actors we talk with said that the process of screaming is agonizing for their voice. Have you done it before, and how do you prepare for something like that?
Oh yeah. I mean, no matter how practiced you become, unless you're like someone who does like scream metal or has like a very specific method for doing it, um, screaming for any extended period of time is going to cause wear and tear on your throat. The act of speaking, the act of screaming, the act of singing involves the friction created from your vocal cords rubbing together, and enough friction on anything is going to cause wear and tear over time. So it's about a mixture of proper self-care, proper hydration, proper preparation, proper aftercare. Um, Obviously, as someone who's been doing this for several years, for almost I don't want to say almost 2 decades. I've been doing it. If I started in 2007, yeah, it's actually been on the better half of 2 decades at this point. Um, I am grateful to say that I have worked that muscle enough over time that now, you know, I can do it more easily. It doesn't wear down as quickly. It doesn't take as much time to recover if I take proper care of it. But I am still going to have to take good care of it. There are roles that I have done or am doing even now where I ask my client, hey, can we schedule this for the end of the week? Because I know this is going to wear my throat out and I need to be able to take vocal rest and not have to skip jobs after the fact. Where I'll have them record me on Friday and then I will just not talk for the rest of that day and most of Saturday so that my throat has a chance to rest and recuperate. Um, so yeah, it's the same method for me as it would be for anyone else. Staying hydrated, drinking water consistently, knowing your limits, being willing to tell the client when you need a break or when you need to stop if it goes overboard, and also understanding how your own vocal cords work so that you can do those screams effectively, where you can get the type of scream that you want while minimizing the damage that you're doing to yourself, or when necessary, going all out because that's what it requires, but making sure that you save that for last so that you're not destroying your throat by doing that and then going right back to doing other performances before you can rest.
Yeah, the main reason I asked that question was because I remember the infamous story of Sean Schimmel screaming so hard that he passed out.
Super Saiyan 3.
Yeah, Super Saiyan 3. And that was the most infamous one so far. So I was just wondering how the self-care was for that.
Not yet, anyway.
Oh, man. That'd be crazy, but it is a process going through it, and I'm glad you sort of explained that and said that, you know, definitely take care of yourself while doing that because you don't want to pass out.
Right.
What was it?
I did have some question to go along with this.
I was about to. Sorry, I was just going to quickly ask, like, what your most scream heavy role was. Like, what was the hardest you had to go for?
Um, There's a role I'm doing right now that I feel like the character never speaks below a 7 out of 10, like ever. Um, so that could be the most consistent in terms of how rough it is on my throat. But I would say in terms of pure intensity, it's a three-way tie between Subaru Natsuki from ReZero, Demon in the Bog from Demon Slayer, especially in the game that he showed up in, because that was just always constant screaming. Or what is the third one? Oh, what is his name? It was from Fairy Fencer F. Fairy Fencer F. I'm gonna look up my own name and see who I played. Zenk from Fairy Fencer F. So.
Oh wait, that was you?
Yeah, it was me.
Oh my god.
Also, Cujo, you say you interjected real quick, or you had something to say?
No, I don't believe so.
Okay, I was just making sure. All right, we're gonna move to question number 10. So, Icy, could you read that off, please?
Yeah. You said number 10 here?
Mhm.
Have you ever been to any conventions to meet the fans, or do you have any big plans to go to one?
Oh, I've gone to plenty of conventions. I actually, since I've reached the point where conventions are interested in having me, I try to travel as often as I can because the conventions are like vacations to me. It's rather than, having to jump between 3 to 4 to 5 different tasks a day, I can just focus on being at my table and interacting with folks and sharing, my excitement for the series that I've gotten to work on so far. It's also a chance to earn some additional income, which helps exponentially with affording my monthly expenses, including my house mortgage. And I like getting to visit different places and try different foods. So this month in particular, February, has been a little bit slow, but March is when it starts to pick up. April, I've got a couple of things, and then May, June, July are stacked. Like, to give an example, we'll start in. Yeah, let's look at June. So starting in June, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7. Okay. So across 12 weeks, we'll say 12 weeks across 3 months, 7 of those 12 weeks, I am traveling over the weekend to go to a convention. And there was a case last year where over the course of 15 weeks, I was traveling for 12 of them. So.
Moving on to the next question, which is question number 11. What is your personal favorite video game character in terms of look, voice, and presentation?
That I have voiced or just in general?
In general.
Listen, I gotta go back. The Corey Saver presentation of Mega Man Volnut or Rockman Volnut and Mega Man Legends was phenomenal. I loved the youthfulness that the character had. The voice worked great. I loved his reaction to the world around him. It actually felt like it really gave the personality of a younger character who feels a strong sense of justice and wants to protect the people that they care about, but is a little overwhelmed by what's happening around them. It was really, really well presented. That's the one that immediately comes to mind. If I had to think of a more modern character, personal favorite video game character in terms of look, voice, and presentation. Probably Clarin for Rivals of Aether. I've been seeing a lot of videos coming out recently for Rivals of Aether 2 of character results or intro animations that they're doing. And Clarin's stuff is just really cool. So he's very confident. It's very vivid. It's very straightforward in an aggressive sort of way. And I really like how they showcase the characters' personalities and goals and focuses through those animations. And I think the team's doing a fantastic job.
Awesome. So we're gonna do our sub questions here as we move into the final question. I'm just gonna ask Icy, do you have any final questions for Mr. Sean Chiplock here?
Mainly the question I had about when you get into like the whole screaming part again. When you first started picking up those sort of things, if you started to, did you know what you were doing as far as like your own body health, as you were mentioning and stuff, with your vocal cords and stuff? Did you know anything about that?
As a
beforehand?
result of being a high energy kid, I was more used to raising my voice or talking louder than was necessary or shouting, when necessary. So I already kind of had a good handle on like what I needed to do in order to project my voice. That was one of the things that I surprised people often with was, wow, you're really good at being able to project and do it to the level that's necessary. So it was really just making sure that I had good habits about staying hydrated and taking care of myself afterwards. Probably the one thing that I needed to be better about back then was not finding excuses to talk when I need to be on vocal rest. It's easier nowadays because I can like tell my wife, hey, I'm on vocal rest so we can talk to each other over text or stuff like that. But when you're younger, you feel inspired to contribute, and not everyone, when everyone's in a voice call and that's how they're hanging out, whether it's over Skype or MSN or stuff like that. I don't know if MSN had voice calls. I'm showing my age here. But you feel inspired to take part, and especially in voice acting communities when you're just starting out, you want to act every chance you can get because that's where you're thriving. So, but I had a good head start just because I was already used to talking loudly and, the effect that it had on my voice. And from there, it was just picking up those professional habits and staying consistent with them.
Vulcan, do you have any final questions for Sean?
I do not. I think everything I had thought of was either on the sheet or asked already, so I'm good. Thank you.
All right. What about you, Inferno? Justin?
No, you see, what he said about MSN got me looking up, did it actually have voice calls?
Oh, man.
And the answer is it eventually got it.
I feel old now because MSN, AOL, oh my god.
Dude, oh god. Qualifying for a veterans discount already, I see.
Well, what about AIM?
That makes me feel older.
I remember logging into AOL and having my email notifications set. It was either to NSYNC or Backstreet Boys, so that anytime I got a new email, one of the lead singers would go, email, hope it's from a female.
Oh my god.
That's amazing.
The email says, hey, I saw your GeoCities. It's like, whoa, I am old.
Oh,
My
that's
current website looks like it's from fucking GeoCities. I need to update it. I'm in the progress of updating it, but man, it screams like Battle Network era in all the wrong ways.
oh.
Does it have the brushed metal background and a pattern with the skull gif that everyone had at the time?
Right. You got the metallic voice in the background going, welcome to the future.
Yeah, Mega Man killing viruses in the background.
Shit'll have a relatively. Actually, I only just got into it thanks to the Legacy Collection, but I will ask, like, you have a favorite Battle Network game?
We're playing through Battle Network 3 right now, which I consider to be my favorite. Yep.
That is a common consensus I've heard. So, I have the collection over there, but my backlog is fucking huge just because there's so many RPGs.
Mm-hmm.
And lately hasn't been helping either because I just got gifted fucking Baldur's Gate, and I'm like, oh, come on.
That's not a bad thing to be addicted to. I completely understand.
Oh no, I'm loving it. I'm just saying that, like, when it comes to RPGs, it's just that I have so many, and gaming wants to keep giving me RPGs. I mean, Persona 3 Reload just came out. I got gifted Baldur's Gate 3 as an early birthday present. Fucking love that game already, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
And FF7 Rebirth is in like a couple days.
Yeah, that comes out pretty soon, huh?
Yep.
And Dragon's Dogma, so it's gonna be RPG Mania like pretty soon for people.
Mm-hmm.
I'm waiting for the new manga that Square Enix recently announced.
The new what?
The new mana. I forgot what it's called.
The manga game. Yeah.
What was that called?
I know it's Trials of Mana. I don't know. I don't think the new one's called that, but I know they're called like several things.
Trials already came out. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't remember either.
I just know I was excited for it.
Visions of Mana.
Visions, yes. I'm so excited for that.
I mean, I was taken aback when they announced a new Mana game as well.
I'm surprised they even remember Mana.
I was surprised they remember Dragon Quest Monsters when Dark Prince came out.
Yep.
Well, Cujo, what about you? Do you have any final questions to ask?
Absolutely. I wanted to ask that For any fledgling voice actors just starting out who still haven't put their demo reel together, do you have any big do's and don'ts that you consider to be pretty paramount to building one?
Give up. Don't bother. Not worth your time. I mean, I say that half jokingly, but also you have to be ready to have people say, "Oh, it's a waste of your time. You're not fit for this," and you have to feel that burning drive in you of saying, "I don't care. I want to do this anyway." Because that passion, that commitment, that willingness to deal with the rejection is paramount to being able to find success. You have to always be willing to learn. You have to always be willing to put yourself out of your comfort zone. You have to be willing to look for the opportunities, not just wait for them to fall into your lap. You know, I am always taking workshops, despite the fact that I'm sure there's plenty of people that would say, "Oh, I would kill to have the level of success that you have right now." And I'm like, buddy, I feel like I'm always on the verge of becoming irrelevant unless I can manage to not constantly reinvent myself, but make sure I'm staying on top of industry trends. So just recognize that you need to forever be a student. There is always opportunities to learn. There's always new angles to approach things. There's always new perspectives to take in and add to your own. And you just got to know that it's a combination of time, money, and opportunity. There's the adage of preparation plus opportunity equals success. And I fully believe in that because I cannot force opportunity to come along. All I can do is prepare myself as consistently and thoroughly as possible so that when I do get the opportunity, that I'm able to bring my absolute best to it and give myself the best chance of finding success.
Awesome answer. Awesome. Kaneki, you have any final questions for Sean?
Yes, I do. And it's only one question. Can you do your Noob Saibot voice for the video introduction for our podcast?
What am I saying?
All right, let me type this up. Let me see. There we go. Infinite Emerald Syndicate. Okay. This should be good enough. He wants you to do it in your Noob Saibot voice, and you could say this line.
Okay.
My name is Noob Saibot. Welcome to the Infinite Ammo Syndicate, and embrace the land of darkness.
That was amazing.
Wow. That is
Wow.
10 out of 10.
Wow.
I feel honored to be able to listen to that.
I'm gonna need to play MK11 again right now. Thank you.
I'm gonna have to go buy the game now. Not gonna lie.
Oh, I already got the game.
Oh, I've been playing it forever. It's a really great game. Although Noob Saibot kicks my ass, so that has some semblance to that situation.
Oh, so it is a true Mortal Kombat game after all.
Better than MK1 right now.
Well, we will do our outros. It was a pleasure to have you, Sean. Could you plug your socials and any websites that you see fit and relevant?
The big three are VA Sonic Mega on Twitter, just Sonic Mega, not just Sonic Mega, the word Sonic Mega on Blue Sky, and Sonic Mega on Twitch as well. I would say Twitter is the big one right now for my general updates outside of just my stream notifications. But Twitch is pretty consistent as well. I try to stream several times a week, showcasing different games. We're coming up on a hiatus, but otherwise it's a pretty regular thing unless work gets in the way. And that's also your best chance to interact with me on a regular basis as well.
Tolkien, where can we find you?
You can find me on YouTube and Twitter at Lady Tolkien.
Inferno, what about you?
You can find me on Twitch and YouTube at Inferno Dragon 343 and on Twitter at Inferno Dragon 3D. Because fun fact, 343 didn't fit until way later.
I just hate Twitter updates sometimes. God damn it. But
Yep.
AC, where can we find you?
You can generally find me over on Twitch at Icy Bone Shredder. Otherwise, I'm over on Twitter as well with at Icy Bone.
Cujo?
You can find me on YouTube and at Twitter, or on Twitter at Overlord Arcade.
Kaneki, where can we find you?
You can find me on YouTube and Twitter under the same name as Google Order.
And you can find me on YouTube at Renegade Operative. You can find me on Twitch at Renegade_Operative. I can't even remember the last thing I did. Silent Hill stuff. All I'm going to be doing is talking about that. So if you're interested in a lot of horror talk and jabbering, then you can see that over there. And Infinite Ammo Syndicate is the group channel, so I will be uploading this. We also did an interview with Craig Bernatowski, which is also pretty cool, so you can check that out as well. There's some fun times ahead for sure. So we are the IAS. We are signing out, and thank you so much, Sean, for participating in this interview. It was really fun, and we hope for the best for your future and career.
Yeah, thank you very much.